Hello everyone, and a very good morning or afternoon depending on where you're joining us from today. Thank you very much for coming along to this webinar for introducing the Advising Doctoral Students program with Professor Nick Steneck. We should be taking about 45 minutes of your time today, including an opportunity for a designated question and answer session at the end. So firstly, just a couple of introductions. That's me, Sarah Vaughan, on the right-hand side. I work for Epigm. I'm the events manager here, and we are the organization that put together the online courses. A large part of my role is looking after our collaboration and implementation workshops, as well as our product launches and online events such as this. I'll let Professor Nick Steneck introduce himself now.
Hi, I'm Nick Steneck, and I'm going to be giving you an overview of the course.
So just a quick look at the agenda before we get started. First, we'll look at Epigm itself. So we're the organization that puts together the programs through a collaborative model, which is quite unique. And I will show you a short video that explains how this approach works. Then we'll move on to Professor Steneck's presentation, where he will provide an overview of the Advising Doctoral Students program. Following this, he will show you a demonstration of the program to give you an idea of the content as well as how they look and feel, and also highlight some specific features. We will then wrap up with a question and answer session. As I mentioned in the beginning, please do feel free to type up your questions in the panel on the right-hand side as the webinar progresses. So a little bit about Epigm. We were founded in 2005 as a spin-out originally from Imperial College London. Our two founders created the company in response to what they felt was a lack of timely support for researchers. One of our founders was doing a PhD at the time, and he came across issues that he wanted and needed to be advised on. And it would either be that there would be a face-to-face course in 3 months' time, or that there was inadequate material online that didn't quite fit what he needed. So he saw this as an opportunity to work with universities to create supported materials for researchers, particularly PhD students and postdocs like himself, that gave just-in-time support for all those issues. And that's where we started, in this sort of research arena within higher education. And in the 10 years since, we have expanded to studying programs, courses for students, and teaching programs, programs for staff. We were acquired by Oxford University Press in May of last year. Oxford University Press are actually a division of Oxford University, so we're still within the not-for-profit organisation in a higher education context and still very much focused on creating high-quality learning materials. To date, in the decade since we have been formed, we have created over 78 online courses across 12 different programs, and we have currently 7 in development. So we're an increasingly globally focused organization and have worked with over 260 universities across 29 different countries worldwide to date. We've worked with many across North America as well, and this is just a map to show you what countries we have been involved with in the development of our courses. So now I'd like to show a short video which will explain our development process to you in a bit more detail.
The story of an Epigm course. We come up with an idea and we consult widely to develop and fine-tune it. We commission a team of expert authors to write it and a team of expert reviewers to help them. We commission a lead advisor who gives strategic vision and leadership. And we bring together a team of universities who form a development group to give feedback on our plans and prototypes and to make sure the product meets their needs. The collaborations we build are drawn from across the world and often involve input from over 50 academics, as well as our team of in-house specialists. Because we believe that collaboration and iteration are the key to producing truly innovative and effective products. So we bring everyone together for a launch workshop at the start of each project. It's a great mixing pot where the creative juices can flow and expertise can be shared. We provide a week-long training course for our writing team to make sure they're able to get the best out of the online medium. And we provide plenty of opportunities for sampling and feedback along the way through a detailed peer review process. In fact, a typical product goes through at least 5 iterations before it's ready to be built by our in-house developers. Together, we're more than the sum of our parts, and our unique and rigorous product development process gives all collaborators access to groundbreaking courses they couldn't have created alone. Here's what some of our customers have to say. Our products are used by over 200 institutions in 25 different countries. To find out more about the collaborations we're currently building, click on the Next Steps button or get in touch with us direct. We'd love to work with you.
So just to summarize the content of the video you have seen, here are a couple of bullet points. So the development group of up to 20 universities come together and share their experience at a workshop to help us create a really great online course. We recruit authors all under the guidance of a lead advisor. In the case of this program we are discussing today, that would be Dr. George Walker. The lead advisor is the person who has the expertise in the area who can lead and shape the vision for the program. We have a meticulous review process in place which allows the development group to look at the content of the courses, check that it matches their expectations, and comment on it as well. Thus, the development group of universities are the early adopters who get to use the program and implement them at their universities. And then we make it available to other universities on a license basis, which is what we are able to do with the completed program for advising doctoral students. So hopefully that's given you a bit of background to Epigeum. Before I move on to Nick, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our implementation options. The courses can be used as standalone online courses. They can be used as tutor-supported online courses, or they can be used as part of a blended learning program. We highly recommend them to be used as part of a blended learning program for you to make the most use out of these courses. We have a dedicated implementation team. We have 2 senior learning consultants who work at Epigeum, and they would be able to guide you through the process and give you any advice that you need in how to most effectively implement the program at your institution. So now I'll hand over to Nick.
Okay, very good. Okay, so hi again, I'm Nick Steneck. I'm emeritus faculty member from the University of Michigan. I've been working for Epigeum since around 2010, 5 years. I've been an author, a lead advisor, and on this particular project I served in the capacity of essentially a translator and adapter to the U.S. market. So what I'm going to show you is a course that was written for the UK and Europe and was adopted by George Walker and myself for the US market. So let me start going through. The background is ADS, Advising Doctoral Students, began as supervising doctoral students in the UK. It was 9 courses, a number of authors wrote it, and it was over 11 hours of training that was provided, online training. When we were asked to adopt the course, George Walker and myself, and that's me and that's George, we felt that it was too long for the US market. There was a lot of material that had to be changed, so we reduced the course to 7 courses from the original 9, and the time roughly down to about 5 hours, give or take, depending on how much of the extra material you do. And what surprised both of us when we took on this project was actually how unique or different U.S. training is over European. I mean, we knew there were differences, but we didn't know how much we would actually have to do the adapting. But we did go ahead and through that. Our objective was to provide a manageable training program, and that's why we reduced the length of it. We were primarily interested in introducing the challenges that doctoral advisors provide and face, and then advice on meeting challenges and solving problems. So what I'm going to show you then is the final course that we came up with, which is the adapted version of the UK course. So content-wise, the course consists of an introduction, roughly 30 minutes, preparing to be an advisor and recruiting the right students, getting started, pre-candidacy, the doctoral project and the dissertation, some cross-cutting challenges, and then conclusions and scenarios. So the course goes through more or less in the stages that the doctoral advisor would work with students going through the course, or going through a doctoral program. So at this point, let me turn to, do doctoral supervisors actually need training? My guess is, since you're listening to a webinar on this, you probably feel they do, but not all doctoral advisors feel that way. And in fact, I would argue that they actually don't need training if all doctoral students are the same, and if the students are the same as their advisors and have the same problems. And that's more or less the assumption that years ago I went into doctoral advising as everybody was going to look like I did. They all had the same problems, and all I had to do is repeat the doctoral advising that I got for the students under me, and that would be the end of it. And of course, obviously that's not the case. Advisees have today diverse backgrounds. They have a wide range of problems, very different from the problems their advisors face, and they have different goals, markedly different goals. And it's for this reason that ADS is an introduction to the challenges doctoral advisors face today. And more than anything, when George and I worked on this course, we wanted to turn it into one that spoke to the needs of a doctoral advisor and the students they're trying to advise. So with that, what I want to do is now give you a brief course tour, and just hang with me to make sure this is working. So let me take you through the course. This is what a learner would sign on to and what they would get. They would get the list of courses. They can then go ahead and select whichever course they want. They're designed to be taken more or less in this order, but each one is freestanding, as I'll show you in a minute, and you can actually take any one of the courses in any order. As you go through the course, it shows you how you're progressing through it, and you ultimately get your grade when you come to the end. All right, so this is now the first course in here, and this is the introduction, and it'll take you through the authors, the two of us who are authors, the learning outcome. Once you've completed this course, you will. What are the few highlights of the course, and then the supporting institutions. As Sarah mentioned, there are development groups that were behind this, and these are the 5 universities that were in the development group. You then get a program introduction, and this gives you an overview of the course. So this is advising doctoral students, preparing an advisor and recruiting the right students, getting started, pre-candidacy, and the courses are all dynamic so that you can pick up and expand points as you go through. So what do we mean by getting started? This unit will cover, gives you a summary of what the unit is all about. And then using the course, this explains how the course is operated. So there's the content in the course, and that's the center of each screen. There are pod activities over to the right-hand side, such as screen donation, download, and so on. There are portfolio activities marked by an icon portfolio, and those are things that you do and can actually build up a portfolio. The course has case studies in it. I'll show you some case studies. And it has icons for ongoing themes. So some of the themes going through are mentorship, stewardship, intellectual community, professional development, and these are highlighted as you go through the course. And each one is organized basically in the same way. What makes an effective doctoral advisor? This shows you a little bit of the interactive features of the program. So the programs or the courses have poll questions in it, and we pose questions at times. So here, characteristics of an effective doctoral advisor. In the following activity, we have listed some of the characters that students identify as important for a doctoral advisor. Select 3 characteristics you feel are important. So I'll select they must be enthusiastic about research, is a role model, and pick your next one, is available and approachable. When you do that, you then go ahead and vote, and what you see is what other people taking this course have actually come up with. So available and approachable is the one that's being selected the most. A role model is the second. It gives you a way to put your thinking into the context of what others are doing in taking this course. This is the course as a self-contained course. I'm going to talk later about using it as a blended course. I'm picking this up and going through and using it in other contexts. So if we now go back through the course and go to preparing to be a doctoral advisor, if you look at the responsibilities, there are activities in here that you actually have to do things. So in the following activity, match the challenges on the left side to the possible solutions on the right side. I'm having trouble understanding course instructors and writing English papers. Well, what would you do about that? Bring some temporary help on and work a revised schedule and so on? No, does not work in there. Talk with a student to understand the source of the problem? Nope. Help advise, research plan, connect with the student with a program on campus that will provide remedial help and support. And the same thing can be done for each one of these activities down here to actually sort out the correct answer with the problem that's up there. So the idea behind the course is to actually engage the learner in what's going on. If you were to go through initial preparations, there is another type of activity we have here. In the following activity, work your way through the checklist of questions, select yes or no. Have you been approved to advise doctoral students? Well, no, I haven't. Find out if approval is needed, and if so, how to get it. If you check yes, good. At most institutions, you need to have approval to serve as an advisor. And then secondly, does your institution or can you yourself, through your grant, provide financial support for your students? Well, no. Then what do you do about it? So again, there are these interactive question and answers that take you through the sort of problems that you will face as you get being a doctoral advisor. There are a fair number of videos in the course. So here's a video. Did a match of expectations arise, a mismatch of expectations arise in any point in your doctoral study?
Have occurred. It was mostly with my writing. The background I had as a chemistry major for both my bachelor's and my master's, the style of writing was completely different. And so when going into writing a document for my current advisor and being in a different field such as geology or geochemistry, the style of writing is slightly different. So there's been a mismatch of expectations right there, because when I think something should be done some way, it's like, no, that's not the way it's done. And so it's always confusing, that set. And one way that has been overcome, a way we overcame that, was that when I would present stuff to her, she gives me the feedback to me. And she's like, okay, think of it this way, or maybe this should be worded this way. So that's been one thing that's helped when trying to fulfill those expectations or change the way those outcomes have happened.
And there are other cases to go through there. I'll end at that point. And all of our courses come with a transcript associated with it, so you can either read it. The courses are all adjusted so that you don't have to depend on the videos or the sound as you go through these. Understanding different approaches. This is an example of a case study. When I started my doctoral, my command of spoken English was only fair. I passed the minimum entry requirements for my rating and so on. It goes through it. And then you enter your text here as to what you think about it, and then view the feedback as to what we have to say about that situation. And you can go through this one. There's another case study. I'm self-funded, and so I work part-time alongside my studies. I'm concerned because I can't make significant progress. What would you do? What would you do about that? Again, enter your thoughts and view the feedback on it. So these are the case studies that run through the course. If we go to the next section at this point, the third one, pre-candidacy. This is a pre-candidacy here. There are, again, activities built into this. And again, some poll questions that lead on to other things. So while doing background reading, your advisee discovers data published by one of your colleagues that looks familiar, does some further checking, and finds the same data in another article that reports a different study. What do you advise? So a student comes to you and suspects plagiarism. What do you advise? Suggest that the advisee talk with your colleague, offer to raise the issue with your colleague, suggest your advisee talk with your department head, review the evidence and report to your institutional research integrity officer. Since I do research integrity, I know that's what you should do, so let me check that, but you could vote. And you'll find that there's a wide range of opinion. In fact, people do generally say you should go to the Research Integrity Office, but some advisors say they would intervene and so on. So these are things that we give feedback on. They're ideal for moving out into blended learning. And just to give you a couple of other ideas, when you get to the stage of defining the dissertation topic, how do you help a student through that? You take them through what a dissertation should be. Promise an original contribution based on sound knowledge, use appropriate methods, can be completed in a reasonable period of time, is publishable, is of interest to the student, fits with the student's career interest, falls within your expertise. Again, advice on helping students to get through their career and so on. And so the course then goes through, all the way through the doctoral project, and then a series of cross-cutting challenges that we have up there. We talk about academic professional development, how do you help them, career development, managing relationships with students and colleagues, providing support, and so on and so forth all the way through to give some very practical advice on advising. So if I can go back now, that's the course tour. And as I say, it takes about 5 hours. You can see in it that there are all sorts of activities which ideally can be used now for implementation, blended learning, and so on. So let me just finish up by talking a little bit about the implementation process. If you are interested in using a course like this, my suggestion is that you start with a series of questions. Why license and use an online course for doctoral advisors? Do your doctoral students want better advising? Do your doctoral advisors want help? Are your current doctoral programs not attracting the best students? Sorry for the typo. It should be not attracting the best students. Do you want to improve your doctoral program? Do you not have enough staff to do the training that you need to do? With this course, you have to decide what problem it is that you're actually trying to solve and then use the course accordingly. Who is your target audience? All new hires? That's probably a good starting point. A requirement to become a doctoral advisor if you don't automatically become one. Who are you going to target with the course? Senior, already established advisors, that's probably the toughest ones to target, but maybe where the most help is needed. And then implementation strategies. How would you implement it? EPIGM courses, as Sarah mentioned, and we constantly say, are designed for blended learning. The learning starts online, and then it should be reinforced with some additional activity. So your implementation options are to make the course available to anyone interested. That's the least likely approach to succeed. If you just put them online and say, take it if you're interested, the uptake is usually low. It's much better to identify advisors who need and will benefit from the help and target them, and then use specific strategies. So you have the advisors go through the course, but then require some of the additional work to build a portfolio. Have them come out with a portfolio at the end of it. Or follow the online training with in-person discussion groups. Several of our universities do that. It's essentially prior reading prior to coming into the normal courses that they would offer to their staff on being a doctoral advisor. You can grant recognition for completing all of the courses, such as certification. And if you have the funds, you can provide incentives such as award doctoral advisor fellowships to encourage people to come in. But the point is that just putting the learning online will accomplish only a limited amount, and the more you can do to target, to implement, and to reward, the better and more useful these courses will be. As the co-editors for this course, We wanted to help advisors meet the complex needs for today's doctoral students, how to prepare students for diverse career options, and how to help students with diverse backgrounds, needs, and goals. More than anything, as George and I talked about this is what we were focusing on and making these points particularly important. We want advisors to understand their own limitations. Advisors can't do everything. So how do they manage their time, their own career versus their student's career? Understand students with different interests and different lives. And how do they get help when they're not qualified to help a student in a particular way? We raise these questions and we provide advice on where to go. And we worked with the assumption that most doctoral students do not end up in research-oriented academic careers. I don't know what the number is, but it's a fairly low number. They're going to do a wide variety of things with their doctorates, and what we want to do with this course is help the doctoral advisors prepare their students for the various careers they're going to go into. So with that, I will turn it over to questions, and Sarah, I believe you're going to handle the questions.
So thank you very much. We have a couple of questions. The first one is, are these courses faculty or discipline specific?
They are not faculty or discipline specific. We try to use a wide variety of examples and be sensitive to areas where there can be difference on the basis of faculty and basis on the difference of disciplines. So George is a physicist, but has been very active in Carnegie and Carnegie work. I'm a historian and a humanist, and we kind of combined our perspectives to put together a single course. Our assumption is that the discipline specific is what you do in the blended learning. So you start with this and then take it back to your discipline. But we have not targeted any specific faculty other than perhaps beginning faculty, and we have not targeted any specific disciplines.
Thank you, Nick. One more question. What are the key challenges for doctoral advisors that this program addresses?
The key challenges that, as I said at the end, that were on our mind were, well, let me approach it another way. We assume that since most doctoral advisors have gone through and done a dissertation or a doctorate, they understand at some level the requirements and the process of doing a major piece of research. And this is doctoral oriented, not PhD oriented. So it's based on doing some kind of major project, probably which is a thesis, but not exclusively a thesis. So we run through that, we do checklists on it, we make sure they pick up all the pieces on that, but the assumption is that's probably what they understand. What we then focus on, dealing with diversity, students with different needs. So we talk about part-time students, we talk about students with personal problems, family responsibilities, and as I also mentioned, very interested in students who aren't going to use the doctoral in a standard academic research career. And we raise those issues throughout and try to point them in the direction of getting help. So those would probably be the two overarching issues that would be our top priorities.
Thank you very much, Nick. I think that's it for questions. So if anybody thinks of some other questions they'd like to ask us, or if they'd like to contact Nick, you can email us at marketing@epigeum.com. You can also see details of our website on our screen at the moment. You can gain access to a free course trial if you get in touch with us, so you can have a feel for the program yourself, have a play around and try and understand the different features and screens that the course offers. So if you would like to have more information about this, please do contact us at marketing@epigeum.com. We'd really like to hear from you. So that's about it from us. Thank you very much for attending this webinar today. Please do get in touch. We hope to hear from you, and I hope you have a nice rest of the day. Thank you very much.